Hello, 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 hello. I'm trying to remember to take thumbnails, so I was just doing that. Now I'm out of breath. Whew. Coffee to save the day. Let's talk about books I hope to read this month. There are a lot of them. I have lost my mind. I've shopped my shelves. Let's see what I want to read this month. It's February. It's the shortest month of the year, and I have a lot of chunky books.
Help me.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Alyssa. It is a little probably late into February, I feel like, for me to be filming this, but life is a mess. Oh, my necklace fell off. I went through my shelves. I finally have everything in my collection shelved and gone through, and that means that I can really truly shop my shelves every month. Shop my shelves is what I call my TBR. It's where I go through the books I have on hand. Some are new releases that have been sent to me or that I've pre-ordered, most of these books end up being backlist books that I've had on my shelves for a long time, and I make myself a very unofficial TBR and attempt to read from this pile every month. It helps me to make sure that I am actually reading the books I own and that I'm, going through and trying to get through this hoard before I die. So let's jump into the books that I have for this month. There are quite a few, like I said. What was I saying? What's happening? Right. So as of today, I will have finished 3 of these books. Once I get through filming, I'm going to finish up 1. So let's talk about them. I listened to Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata, and I'll put it up so you can see it. And I really love this little book. It's like a tiny little novella. It was really interesting. I thought the main character was just wonderfully written and interesting to have their perspective. I feel like this camera's a little crooked. I feel like my camera's still crooked, but now it's crooked the other way. Whatever, we're going with it. So anywho, so the main character is this young girl who's kind of like a little weird. Like she's not like everybody else. She doesn't process the world like everybody else. She is probably asexual. They kind of explore that a little bit in the book. And she just works in this convenience store. And it is what brings her joy and brings her like happiness. And that's the same thing. It's what she is here to do. Like she is very happy in her lot in life, and it's everybody else around her who is judging her for not wanting to get married, for not having children, for not wanting more from her life, for not wanting to have a better job. And she does start to bow a little bit to the social pressures. And she gets in this relationship sort of convenience with this guy who's terrible. And she sort of leaves the convenience store, and you kind of see how that all affects her life. And I just really loved it. I thought it was great. I really hated the boyfriend, and yeah. I also finished, if you've been listening to the podcast, I don't know when it's coming out. These are all coming out, but we talked about our 12 Women, 12 Country recommendations for the challenge we're doing throughout the year with TBR Lowdown, and that's reading a book every month from a different female author from a different country, and I'm focusing on translated works, as I've said before. But I finished Olga T's, because I can't say her name, Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead, and of course I got the special edition, like I said in my haul when I hauled this, because, Sighthound Lady has to have the Sighthound version of this book. So this was phenomenal. I absolutely love this. I think that the main character reminded me a lot of, or the narrator reminded me a lot of the narrator from The Door by Magda Szabo. They had very similar sort of grumpier old lady vibes. I really liked the way that Olga T discusses the world in this book through the narrator and the commentary she makes on life and death. And I loved the use of astrology. I think that the main character was totally justified in all of her actions. If you've read this, let me know how you feel about her actions. But it's kind of like a little psychological thriller-ish, literary thriller. I don't really know how to describe it, but it was phenomenal. Loved it. So I've already read this one.
So I guess I'm making progress.
And then I'm almost done with Cibola Byrne, which is book 4 in the Expanse series. And I have book 5 on hold for the audio. I love listening to the audio for these for some reason. I just really like the narrators. But this one's really good. I'm really enjoying book 4 a lot more than book 3. I don't have ready access to the short stories, unfortunately. And I think that's why I didn't like, and little novellas. So I think that's why I didn't like book 3 that much because I felt very disjointed. 1 and 2 followed each other really nicely, and then it felt like I was missing a piece for book 3, so I never truly got into it. Book 4, I'm really, really, really loving so much. This is more like books 1 and 2 for me, so I'm truly, truly enjoying this one a lot more, and I can't wait to get to book 5. I'm really loving this series, and I don't know why I waited so long to read it, but I'm happy I'm finally reading it, and I have to acquire book 5 for the shelves this month. Now, the rest of this stack has not been touched. And there's a lot of chonky things in here. So I guess we're going to start with, I have another book from Olga T, and this is Flights, which is kind of like a weird collection of stories about travel. So it says Flight is a novel about travel in the 21st century and human anatomy, broaching life, death, motion, and migration. From the 17th century, we have the story of the Dutch anatomist Philip Verheyen, who dissected and drew the pictures of his own amputated leg. From the 18th century, we have the story of a North African-born slave turned Australian courtier, stuffed and put on display after his death. In the 19th century, we followed Chopin's heart as it makes its covert journey from Paris to Warsaw. In the present, we have the harrowing story of a young husband whose wife and child mysteriously vanish on a holiday on a Croatian island. With her signature grace and insight, Nobel Prize Literature laureate Olga T guides the reader beyond the surface layer of modernity and towards the core of the very nature of humankind. I am very excited for this. Naomi is currently reading this one. She's really enjoying it. I know that this one has a little bit of mixed reviews in the world of people who like Olga T, but I'm excited to try it. I feel like I really like her writing in general. It's remarkably amazing. I don't know how to say this. Like, I feel like I kind of fangirl over it. When I first started reading Drive Your Plow, I was like shocked by how good it was. Like, sometimes you just see something or you hear something or you read something that's just so amazingly talented and beautifully done and just hits you like in a way that nothing else has hit you. Like, I feel like that's her writing. So I understand why she has won a Nobel Prize in literature. So yeah. And then I want to get the Books of Jacob, but I want to get it in this edition because I kind of like these little blue paperbacks. Continuing on the translated from Polish trend, this seems to be the month of Polish literature. I figured if I'm going to read all the Olga T this month, I might as well also read The Widow Queen, which is the first in what is actually a duology. I think on the podcast where we recommend books for the challenge, I say this is a standalone, but it's actually a duology. I looked it up on Goodreads. This is the only one translated as of right now, and this is her only book translated right now. This is Elizabeta Czeręzinska. I can't say that correctly, but this is like a historical fantasy about, like, I don't want to say like ancient, like historical Poland. And this generally reminds me of the Signy Pike series that has The Lost Queen and The Forgotten Kingdom in it. I feel like they're going to read very similarly, so I'm excited to get this down, and I really hope that they translate book 2 relatively soon so that I can read that one too. And also thank you to Forge for sending this to me because it's beautiful, and I think the paperback comes out soon-ish. So if you want to try it, there'll be a paperback out soon, if you prefer paperback. I'm going to try to do like all of my Black history books together. I'm saying Black history because, like, you should be reading these books all year round, and you don't need to just read them in February. You should be reading these books all year round, and you don't need to just read them in February. But in case you need a list of books to read this month, I will get to those for you. But first, I did pick up a copy of Gathering Moss by Robert Wall Kimmer, and she wrote Braiding Sweetgrass, which I recently read and absolutely adored. And this is just a little baby little book about, let's see how she says, a natural and cultural history of mosses. And this is her first book. It is a beautifully written mix of science and personal reflection that invites readers to explore and learn from the elegantly simple lives of mosses. And I just really love her writing, and I love how she teaches us about nature and Native American culture and respecting the environment, and how it all like also winds in with ourselves and how we're all intertwined in this being that is the universe. And I just love her writing, and I love listening to her narrate her writing too, because I just feel like you get like this extra layer of understanding, and oh, it's just so good. So I have this to read as like my nonfiction for the month, because I do try to read about one nonfiction every month. I don't have any hard and fast goals this year in terms of that, but I do still try to read at least one nonfiction every month. I'm finally going to get to Hana Yanagihara's newest release, which is To Paradise. This is quite the epic tale that spans 3 different timelines, and I am ready to get hurt again. As the TikTok sounds go, I am ready to get hurt again. I'm also scared because I loved Little Life so much, and it was so moving and just so impactful, and like one of my favorite books of all time, that I feel like I have high hopes for this, and hopefully they don't color my experience in any sort of negative way. I'm not going to explain this. I feel like I've explained this book a bunch of times in many different videos and podcasts, so I'm not going to, but she's chunky, and it's going to be a bit. I have 4 books, I guess, that are very specific that you could call these Black History Month book picks, but again, like I said, read these all year round. You don't need to wait till February to read these, and you shouldn't. And you should be reading diversely from all different walks of life, all different cultures, all different countries, all different places throughout the year. You shouldn't wait for a specific month where that's the theme of the month or whatever. But that's my disclaimer. Let's go through the 4 books that I guess that could be considered my Black History Month reads. For TBR Lowdown, our book pick for February, we are reading James Baldwin's Giovanni's Room. This is my first James Baldwin, and I'm very excited for this to be my first one, because I think this is one of his more notable works, and I'm so excited to get into this author. I've listened to many different like interviews and sound bites from him, and I find him very fascinating. So I can't wait to jump into his literature. So I'll read you a little bit in case you do not know what this is. This is his groundbreaking novel about love and the fear of love, set among the bohemian bars and nightclubs of 1950s Paris. David is a young American expatriate who has just proposed marriage to his girlfriend, Hella. While she is away on a trip, David meets a bartender named Giovanni, to whom he is drawn in spite of himself. Soon the two of them are spending the night in Giovanni's curtainless room, which he keeps dark to protect their privacy. But Hella's return to Paris brings the affair to a crisis, one that rapidly spirals into tragedy. Caught between his expressed desires and conventional morality, David struggles for self-knowledge during a long, dark night, the night which is leading me to the most terrible morning of my life. With sharp, probing insight, Giovanni's Room tells an impassioned, deeply moving story that lays bare the unspoken complexities of the human heart. I can't wait. I honestly can't. I also have, and I got this from William Morrow, I think last year, and it's just the cutest little book. Like, it's so tiny. Like it's the same size as this little book. Like, there's just, it's not even, like, it's shorter than that. Like, it's just this tiny little, like, adorable little book. But anyway, this is Love in Color, Mythical Tales from Around the World Retold. This is Bolu Babola. You know I'm horrible at reading anybody's name. But I did haul this for you guys last year, but I'll give you another little summary of it. A highborn Nigerian goddess who has been beaten down and unappreciated by her gregarious lover longs to be truly seen. A young businesswoman attempts a great leap in her company and an even greater one in her love life. A powerful Ghanaian spokeswoman is forced to decide whether she should uphold her family's politics or be true to her heart. In her debut collection, internationally acclaimed writer Bolu Babalola, one day I will figure this out, retells the most beautiful love stories from history and mythology with incredible new detail and vivacity. Although Babalola focuses mainly on the magical folk tales of West Africa, she also reimagines Greek myths, ancient legends from the Middle East, and stories from long erased places, with an eye toward decolonizing tropes inherent with our favorite tales of love. Babalola has created captivating stories that traverse perspectives, continents, and genres. And I feel like I'm excited about this. I feel Like, these are the kinds of retellings that I like, and I like getting new myths. I don't know why I'm sitting like this. I like when I get new myths that I'm not as familiar with, and then you retell them, and it's just, I don't know, there's just something about, like, the power of stories that transcend generations and how they can keep being reinvented, that just, like, connects you to the past and to different culture. So I'm excited for this little adorable book. And then I have two books. The last two books are books that I meant to get to in December, and I just never did. And so the first is the 1619 Project, which I always forget how heavy this book is. Like, it's so beautifully printed. It is so heavy. So I'm really excited to finally get to this collection. And this is the kind of book where I need to sit down and mark it up and have like flags and a pencil, because that's just the kind of book this is. And so this is an expansion on the groundbreaking work of the 1619 Project. A new origin story offers a profoundly revealing vision of America's past and present. So this is a collection of stories from different Black authors, and it is supposed to be absolutely amazing. And it runs from, chronologically, these stories run from 1619 to present. And I am absolutely, I just can't wait. I can't wait to, one, meet new authors, because there's so many authors on this. I mean, like, there's fiction and poetry. Like, these are all the contributors to this. I am excited to meet some new authors that I've never heard of and dive into new works. I'm excited to see this non-whitewashed version of history told to us through nonfiction and through fiction and poetry. And I'm so excited for this, and I'm hoping that this is the month that I actually have the time to dedicate to this book, because this needs special time. This is not audiobook while driving. This is sitting down and just really becoming one with the book. So I'm excited about that. And then finally, we have the Love Songs of W.E.B. Du Bois. This is by Honoré Fanon Jeffers. I'm so bad at names. Oh, God, I hate myself. So this chunky book came out last year, and I'm excited. So this is her first full-length novel, and I've only heard good things about this. Everybody who's read this has been like, even people that hate like big books are like, you can't stop reading. It is supposed to be a masterpiece. So I am looking for my socks to be blown off. I feel like this month is just a solid month of books if I can get through all of these. Like, I'm gonna have a good book month. Anywho, so the great scholar W.E.B. Du Bois once wrote about the problem of race in America and what he called double consciousness, a sensitivity that every African American possesses in order to survive. Since childhood, Ailey Pearl Garfield has understood Du Bois's words all too well, bearing the names of two formidable Black Americans, the revered choreographer Alvin Ailey and her great-grandmother Pearl, the descendants of enslaved Georgians and tenant farmers. Ailey carries Du Bois's problem on her shoulders. Ailey is reared in the North in the city, but spends summers in the small Georgian town of Chickasetta, where her mother's family has lived since their ancestors arrived from Africa in bondage. Since she was a child, Ailey has fought a battle for belonging that is made all the more difficult by a hovering trauma and the whispers of women, her mother Belle, her sister Lydia, and the maternal line reaching back 2 centuries, who urge Ailey to succeed in their stead. To come to terms with her own identity, Ailey embarks on a journey through the family's past, uncovering the shocking tales of generations of ancestors, indigenous, Black, and white, in the Deep South. Along the way, Ailey must learn to embrace her full heritage, a legacy of oppression and resistance, bondage and independence, cruelty and resilience, that is the story and the song of America itself. And like, I'm really excited for this month. I feel like there's some amazing books on this list. Like I said, if I finish all of these, like, I'm gonna have one hell of a reading month. I'm super, super excited. So I can't wait. I can't wait. If you've read any of these, let me know how you feel about them. And let me know if any of them are on your TBR for the month. Let me know what you're reading. Like, what are you most anticipating for this month? Like, what is the book that has you like the most jazzed? Because I am psyched for all of these. I can't wait. It's already been such a good month with the first 3 books that I have such high hopes, such high hopes We'll see when we get to the end and in March when I do my like notable reads of February how I feel. But right now, the world is a heavy place of reading. So anyway, I'm gonna wrap this up because I have 2 more videos I want to film today. And yeah, so if you feel so inclined, please like and subscribe. You can ring the bell, do all the things, you know, interact with the channel in any way you can because that really helps me out. Share this with a friend, invite them to subscribe. You know, the whole drill. Anyway, I will see you guys in my next video, whatever it may be, because it's my channel and I can do whatever I want. Cheers.
So just sit with me, talking to the night until the morning, building chemistry. I don't think I ever wanna go come closer next to me, trying to find another way to say